past the Mercedes-powered Williams and to try and ease towards that podium today.
The Kimster needs to get past the Williams in a hurry, because with Vettel scoring lots of points, he is quickly becoming the #2 driver at Ferrari. But Bottas is doing a very good job of stopping himself becoming the #2 driver at Mercedes-Benz this weekend.
Yep, he's still got that gap to Sebastian Vettel, but not a gap over a second. This is I was going to say a much closer battle, but Kimi's rather spoilt it, hasn't he? Going very wide indeed at the final corner. Lewis Hamilton getting a bit closer under DRS to Sebastian Vettel there as well, and Felipe Massa can just rest easy a little bit. I thought he was going to be under pressure from Raikkonen going into that turn one on this occasion, but Raikkonen spoilt the approach a bit.
Yeah, you get a parking ticket out that far off the racetrack.
And then there's the Force India of Jolyon Palmer having a little look. Sergio Perez into turn one as we look at the start once again.
There we go, down into turn one. That's not quite the angle we needed to see to analyse that. There they go, and it was Vettel on the outside. I didn't learn a lot from that. I don't know about you.
No, I learned that tower's a very good vantage point. What about the helicopter?
Let's have a look at this one. Hulkenberg's got a good start in the middle there. And there goes Verstappen then. He pinches his teammate, but leaves him enough space, and that got him into an important 4th place. And then I think at the top of the hill, Raikkonen's going to go and try and go around the outside of Ricciardo. There he goes, 2 Red Bulls line astern, and then gets hung out to dry. And wise old Felipe Massa sneaks up the inside and takes P6. Bit of wheel spin there before he got it into 3rd. Shuffling through the gearbox up to 7th already. A perfect line there for Sebastian Vettel. Bit of understeer, unsurprisingly. Front tyres are a bit cold. Front doesn't quite go into the corners you want. A clear 2nd place then.
And this
seemed all right.
Dirty side of the grid. Dirty side of the grid, Martin.
You reckoned it was a car, probably a car's length, didn't you?
Yeah,
you're right.
Historically here, it is not good, the dirty side of the grid.
It just picked up a little bit of wheel spin when he got it into 2nd place. Vai.
They like that, they really do. So on board with Verstappen, another great start from him.
He's going right down the outside. He then pinches his teammate, so he has to think about it, but leaves him enough space, and then gets the high ground for turn 2.
Now, skittish that Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton was getting out of turn 2 as well.
Bottas under pressure. He's not used to this.
So getting a little bit of overheating now, but not significant.
So tyres, brakes, the collar, who knows, quite frankly.
What is it? I would imagine it's the rear tyres.
So at the end of the DRS zone, Bottas manages to stay ahead. Kimi Raikkonen still on Felipe Massa's tail. Let's get a quick reaction on the start from the Force India pit wall. Otmar Safnauer, the COO of Force India. Boy, did your guys make up some places at the start there, Otmar.
It's exactly what we had to do. They did a good job at the start, and now Checo, I think, just overtook Palmer with a nice move. So 10th and 12th, we still have a bit of work to do to get them both into the points.
Well, that's true, but at least one of them is in the points at the moment. Are we looking at a 2-stop strategy for the majority of cars in the midfield today?
Oh, wouldn't that be nice to know now, but we'll do our best.
I'm sure you've been thinking about it all morning long.
What are you having to babysit out there, Otmar, today? Rear tyres, engine, fuel consumption, brakes, are tough on brakes.
Tough on brakes and definitely tires, like you say. The tires will last. It's just you need them more than just to last. They got to be good.
Otmar, thanks ever so much. We'll be back with you in a little bit. We go back to the front of the field. Bottas, Vettel, Hamilton going through the hairpin, and there's only half a second between the top 3.
Yeah, and we saw Vettel pulling out of the slipstream, managing his temperatures a bit. I think Bottas is struggling a little bit with rear tyre temp. Hamilton is sitting there very quietly indeed. And the really good news story for us watching this race is Verstappen is still only 2.5 seconds off the lead.
The undercut here is quite effective as well, so they'll be thinking on that Red Bull pit wall, when can we bring our man in to get maximum effect and maybe disrupt the strategies of the teams ahead. This is fantastic action. Nothing really between the top 3 at the moment. And I get the feeling Hamilton is starting to get a bit more aggressive as well, and he needs to, because Verstappen is now starting to close in on Lewis Hamilton. Look how that gap is just half a second between the British driver and the Flying Dutchman.
These are pretty tough corners at the back there. You carry an awful lot of speed. It's I've not done it in an F1 car, but I've done it in various cars, and it's extraordinary how much speed you can carry into those corners. And then, as long as you don't run wide, if not, you're in double trouble, because it's very sandy and slippery beyond the red and white stripe curb.
Bottas leads them over the line. He's actually got 0.8 of a second advantage on Sebastian Vettel. He was 0.2 quicker on that previous lap. It gives him a bit of respite going into turn 1, but they're still all queuing up behind him. And then here comes Kimi Räikkönen and Felipe Massa. This is the battle for 6th place. Räikkönen gets into turn 1 ahead of Massa. He's got the job done, and very nicely indeed. Closes off any threat from Massa going through turn 2 as well.
Nice, easy enough move. Bit of DRS, bit of slipstream. Hülkenberg in the background there, running a nice 8th place, so Massa's fine start. This is from quite a long way back, so you can save your battery power up, get a slipstream, get your rear wing open, and that's an open goal, really, in terms of an overtake.
You get close enough as well, Martin. If you're going into a strong headwind, the toe becomes that much more effective.
Yeah, it's only margins, but Formula One's about margins.
Any little gain you can make is always very handy indeed. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, Valtteri Bottas doing everything he can to protect his rear tyres, to keep them cool. But you sense that Ferrari or even Lewis Hamilton might think about an early stop. Mercedes won't permit Hamilton to do that, but Ferrari can undercut him, no problem. Another quick line from down here. Stroll is closing as well on the car in front of him, but he's got a terrible flat spot, he says, is affecting him.
And that car in front of him is Jolyon Palmer. Lance Stroll down in 14th at the moment. Palmer around about 7/10 ahead at the end of the last lap. Verstappen pulls out into a bit of clean, maybe cooler air, if there is any cooler air to be had.
More trying to distract Hamilton, I think, there. So Lewis then is got less turbulent air he's driving into. He's got enough grunt under his right foot from that Mercedes power unit. But Verstappen getting impatient, and why they'll be getting extra impatient, I now assume that Räikkönen, now he's cleared Massa, will start to close up and make this a 6-way fight.
Which is certainly what we want. Sebastian Vettel, a few car lengths behind Bottas once again, and this time Verstappen, that same few car lengths behind Hamilton.
Once again, Bottas, this is Stroll then presumably coming in to change his flat-spotted tyre. Once again, Bottas turning in a little bit early, a little bit nervously.
Soft tyre goes on to Lance Stroll's Williams. Soft, super soft and medium if you want it, the 3 tyre compounds here. He could go to the end of the race and not need to change tyres now, Lance Stroll, but that's a struggle.
We are quicker than them, but I got stuck.
Says Max Verstappen. No blue flags this time around like he wanted for Romain Grosjean at the end of last week.
No, but interesting, isn't it, Crofty? Both Mercedes under pressure from somebody. We've got a race on our hands here.
One from the Red Bull, one from the Ferrari. Is the Ferrari pace really that much quicker than the 2 Mercedes? And that is the Haas of Kevin Magnussen out of this race. Pulling to the side of the racetrack. Shouldn't be any need for a safety car here. We've only ever had 2 in the Bahrain Grand Prix before. What happened to Kevin Magnussen?
Coming down towards turn 8. Obviously technical. And he gets it a long way. There's a lot of gravel there, a long way out of the way. Pity he didn't turn left there rather than right, but anyway, they can wheel that back in. Look at the brakes glowing there, over 1,000 degrees centigrade on the front of Valtteri Bottas Mercedes. Remember I talked to you from out on track Friday night, Crofty? The Mercedes was so much brighter than pretty much every other car out there in terms of the brake temperatures they were running.
So technical and terminal for Kevin Magnussen, who retires from this race and joins Stoffel Van Dorn as drivers at the moment putting their feet up. Van Dorn didn't even get the chance to start this race. We are on lap 10 of an already thrilling Bahrain Grand Prix, where the top 5 cars separated by only 3.1 seconds.
Starting to lose the rears more. His tyre is really not feeling so good, so...
Yeah, we've got a problem with the pressures, they're high.
So the higher the pressure, the less grip he's getting.
Yeah, absolutely. They crown in the middle a little bit as well, but and you remember it's an undamped spring, your tyre as well, so it changes the damping characteristics and high tyre pressures, but it's more of a mechanical grip thing, when it's like, you know, the tyres are balloons, aren't they? Very expensive balloons, basically.
We saw Lance Stroll coming into the pits to change onto the soft compound tyre, starting to set some very nice sector times, Lance Stroll, which the other teams will take as an indication.
For the Ferrari.
Yeah, aggressive from the Ferrari. We knew someone was going to go aggressive, and they're going onto the super soft tyre, so Ferrari committing to a definite two-stop strategy here, and Sebastian Vettel trying the undercut and putting pressure. Is this a reaction, I wonder, to Bottas saying on the radio he was struggling for rear tyre grip?
It's all about where he's going to feed back in, isn't it? And it's not going to be pretty, I don't think.
He might just come out ahead of Jolyon Palmer and behind Checo Perez. That is exactly the gap that Ferrari think they can get Sebastian Vettel out into, and that's not a bad gap at this stage, Martin. It's probably the best that they could certainly hope for. What he's got to do now, though, Sebastian Vettel, is get his foot down.
I think we need to do something as well, like Ferrari.
And Verstappen wants to gamble and wants to go aggressive. How long can Mercedes now leave Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton out to protect themselves from the undercut?
Brave of Ferrari to go first. We don't know. Oh, that's nice and wide. We don't always think they're that sharp on strategy, but they've thrown the cat amongst the pigeons now.
And it's not like they had nothing to lose on this occasion, because he was sitting second and he was sitting pretty as well.
Yeah, so I think Hamilton's just about got Verstappen covered. Has he been there just minding his tyres a little bit, just taking it easy? Will we see a bit of hammer time? Will he get the opportunity before he gets called in as well?
Here's the interesting thing. Lance Stroll's just set the fastest lap of the race on the soft compound tyre. Ferrari have taken the gamble. Was the soft maybe a better option for them than the super soft?
Stroll's would have been brand new though, wouldn't they? Yeah, I got the impression that the strategy is, here comes Verstappen and super soft, soft for a two-stopper.
Sebastian Vettel's just set the fastest middle sector of all, putting pressure on the leader, Valtteri Bottas. Stopping now is Max Verstappen. Paul di Resta, what do you reckon to this Ferrari gamble?
It's definitely what they have to do. They have to push on to it, but Mercedes have to split it. I think the only way they're going to stay in front is to put Hamilton on a one-stop, maybe Bottas on a two, but you can see Vettel's already cleared the Force India, so look at the gap and the speed he's got on that fresh rubber. Yeah,
which means he's well clear then of Max Verstappen as well. Verstappen comes out into that same gap behind the Force India and ahead of the Renault. So Sebastian Vettel in 9th place now and Max Verstappen in 11th.
And Raikkonen now only just over a second and a half behind Ricciardo, so Raikkonen's closed that gap very quickly, moving along nicely. And Hamilton also 8 tenths faster than his teammate on the previous lap. What is he thinking sitting there?
Oh no, Max Verstappen's out! Max Verstappen has gone out at the top of the hill at turn 4, just on the exit of 4. We saw Vettel going wide, didn't we, after he made his pit stop. But what happened here to Max Verstappen?
He just locked his right front.
Does that look like a brake failure to you, Martin?
Brakes failed.
I take no credit for that. Paul di Resta in race control thought that was brake failure and was in my ears saying, Crofty, that's brake failure, mate. Yep. And I think Verstappen's just confirmed that.
Yeah, he just couldn't, he just could not slow the car down. And that's worrying then, worrying on the other car as well as Raikkonen pits.
Well, that's absolute disaster then for Max Verstappen. I wonder if we're going to get a safety car here or not. Ferrari decide to pit Kimi Raikkonen, and that's a slow stop for Kimi Raikkonen because the front right didn't go on at the right time. Now, this is where Verstappen's car is, double yellows, so Lewis Hamilton can't make the move into that corner. That might have saved Valtteri Bottas a little bit. Verstappen absolutely furious that his race has been ruined by brake failure on lap 12 of this Bahrain Grand Prix.
Meanwhile, Vettel's 3 seconds faster than Bottas up front.
I don't understand, unless they think they can do a one-stop strategy and save the 24.5 seconds for an extra pit stop, why Mercedes are leaving both cars out.
Well, you soon get through 24 seconds, Crofty, at 3 seconds a lap, don't you?
Absolutely.
It's only 8 laps, so have Ferrari caught Mercedes napping here.
And out of the race, Lance Stroll, massive disappointment for him. And there's a lot of debris on the track as well.
That looks like it's been through one of the brake marker boards or something, doesn't it?
This is going to bring out a safety car.
I got hit from the side.
A car coming out of the pits then, I'd imagine. Who was that?
Well, we shall see. Could that have been Carlos Sainz, who's just pitted as well? It is Carlos Sainz, Ted.
Yeah, so Mercedes knew as soon as Sebastian Vettel pitted that they were going to lose the lead with Valtteri Bottas, so they have to do something different. They have to go long. I think it might be Lewis Hamilton who takes the more aggressive strategy. We'll see. But Mercedes ready for one of their drivers now.
Yeah, somebody's coming in, and I think it's going to be, as the safety car now comes out, it could actually be both. They could double stack here. It's Bottas who's coming in, and Hamilton as well. They're double stacking. Has this safety car saved Mercedes' race this afternoon?
Pretty timely. Oh, and that's slow away. That's going to hurt Hamilton a bit more.
They were waiting, weren't they, for Ricciardo to come in. Hamilton had to wait that little bit longer.
And will Hamilton have to wait for the Renault? No, gets out in front. That may well have helped Mercedes a treat in that respect, because Vettel was absolutely flying. Where are they? No, Vettel's in front of them, isn't he?
Sebastian Vettel is in the lead of this race as they go past the stranded Williams. And I tell you what, Lewis Hamilton's lost out as well, because Daniel Ricciardo has got ahead of Lewis Hamilton. They waited, didn't they, for Valtteri Bottas to get out because of the Red Bull coming into the pits. Hamilton has suffered here and he's lost a place.
Lance Stroll obviously hasn't seen that car that was upside down here. Who was that? Kobayashi, was it? Who was upside down there?
Gutierrez.
In a Sauber, yeah.
Gutierrez and Maldonado had their incident there. Not quite as dramatic, but oh dear, Lance Stroll. That's an absolute disaster for him, and doesn't look like his fault.
Well, he's taking the racing line, but of course the pit exit filters straight into the apex of turn 1.
It's me. Stroll hit me. He didn't see me coming in the inside. It was. He just tell me turned into me like if I was not there.
Well, I'm tempted to say, hang on a minute, Carlos, you were behind him.
Yeah, sorry, Carlito, but that's down to you, that one. Stroll had the corner, and he's not going to see you. The mirror's about as useful as an ashtray on a motorbike when you're that far across the racetrack, and he's never going to. Well, he's seen you come out of the pit lane, but he's not going to have realised you've steamed right up the inside.
Do you remember Sebastian Vettel and Sergio Perez had an incident in a practice session here a couple of years ago where Perez kind of cut across and Vettel hit him as well. The stewards are actually now having a little look at Lewis Hamilton and Daniel Ricciardo. They've noted that the pit entry incident, did Hamilton hold Ricciardo up?
I bet you he backed him up, and you're not allowed to. Well, they're looking to see if Hamilton backed up the opposition.
Yeah, because he knew
you're not allowed to do that.
He knew his teammate had to change his tyres first, so he wanted to buy a little bit of time.
Yeah, you're not allowed to impede. I mean, he looked plenty far enough ahead of him, didn't he?
We want to see it a little bit before this, don't we, Martin? Ricciardo's already gone in and gone out again. They had to hold Bottas up to let Daniel Ricciardo go past. What could the stewards do here, Martin, if Lewis Hamilton's found guilty of holding Daniel Ricciardo up?
5-second penalty or something, but he wasn't exactly coasting out on track, was he?
No.
Let's see.
This was Raikkonen's stop, which was a little bit slow as well. The order behind the safety car, Sebastian Vettel leads this race. And Ferrari took the gamble and took the undercut, and we wondered, could the safety car save Mercedes' day? It hasn't. Sebastian Vettel's pace was so good once he changed his tyres that he still managed to get ahead of the two Mercedes, even under the safety car conditions. And of course, any laps now behind the safety car, very useful for Sebastian Vettel, because he's not using up the tyres that would have to do a longer stint.
And Hamilton then not quite getting pole, is the second one in the stack, is now down to 4th place.
Because Valtteri Bottas, who started on pole, Ricciardo 3rd, Lewis Hamilton 4th, Felipe Massa 5th. Then comes Kimi Raikkonen, Nico Hülkenberg, Marcus Ericsson, Sergio Perez and Romain Grosjean. They're the top 10. The only one who's not stopped in that top 10 is Marcus Ericsson, who started on the soft compound tyre. Sauber going for a one-stop strategy, and this is really helping them. Ocon is 11th from Alonso, Palmer, Fiat and Wehrlein. We have lost from this race Carlos Sainz, Lance Stroll, Max Verstappen with brake failure, Kevin Magnussen, and we didn't even see Stoffel Van Dorn start. Definitely under investigation now, that incident involving Lewis Hamilton and Daniel Ricciardo. And what we haven't said, Martin, is that Ricciardo and Hamilton and Massa put the soft tyres on, not the super soft tyres.
So they'll be looking then to see if Hamilton was unduly slowing down. And I tell you what, he's got something to answer for. Unduly slowing down a rival, and he was. He was.
Yep, he was well on the brakes before it.
That was way too much. He'll take a penalty for that, I know.
And the fact is, it didn't matter. He got caught anyway, and he lost the place anyway.
Yeah, with a slow stop.
So it might even be a double bubble trouble.
And the stack, of course, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Max Verstappen walking back, looking a very angry young man under the lights here in Bahrain tonight, and that's a lot of damage to the side of Lance Stroll's Williams. The stewards in looking now at that incident between Sainz and Stroll. Could there be some penalties being applied? Ted, down to you.
Well, penalties to Lewis Hamilton notwithstanding, we'll wait and see on that. He doesn't have to stop again if he can keep these soft compound tyres alive for the next for the remaining laps. They would have had to do, what, 40-odd laps, Crofty, from when he pitted, and that's more or less the upper margin of what Pirelli say that they will do. Can they be competitive towards the end of those 40-odd laps? We'll have to wait and see, but that's really the only option that Mercedes have got. They've got to try and keep Lewis on this one-stop strategy.
Like
Team Radio?
Hamilton slowed down in the pit lane in front of you. Do you confirm that?
Yeah, confirm.
Okay, mate, understood. We can see what
say
you're
no.
trying to
Okay, Ricciardo also on the soft tyre, as you say, so doesn't have to stop again, whereas the Ferraris definitely do, and Bottas definitely does have to stop again.
So Ricciardo's looking handy here, isn't he? If Hamilton gets a penalty, Ricciardo is on a set of tyres, as Ted rightly points out, could well get to the end of the Grand Prix, depending on how long the safety car's out for.
44 laps on a set of soft compound tyre, and you take off a few of that, Martin, because of the safety car. It's a really tall order, isn't it?
Softs, they might make it, we'll see. What have we got, 29 degrees track temperature now?
Yep.
I think they'd have to babysit them a little bit, have to nurse them to the end, but we've certainly, well, you know, that's just thrown another double six, hasn't it, with Vettel and Bottas on the super softs and Ricciardo, Hamilton and Massa on the softs. Top five.
Safety car coming in at the end of this lap. Third safety car we've ever had here in Bahrain. We've got 15 cars still in the race. If you want to know the fewest finishes here in Bahrain, 13 in 2005. We're going through them at a fair rate of knots. And now Valtteri Bottas, after having Sebastian Vettel follow him for the opening skirmishes here, is going to have to chase hard. And look at that, Hamilton looking to get the jump here on Daniel Ricciardo as we go racing once again. No DRS for the next couple of laps, so he's going to have to do it without any artificial aids for overtaking, and he's getting a very nice slipstream indeed. Behind Ricciardo, down the main straight, pulls out now to the right-hand side, goes wheel to wheel with Daniel Ricciardo, and going into turn one, Vettel leads. Valtteri Bottas just behind him, Lewis Hamilton up into third place, ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, and now tries to take the inside line, can't quite get it into turn two.
Vettel well out of position in 2 and 3. That's going to give Bottas a great run up the hill. Vettel's gone to the inside, the only place he can go. Will Bottas leave his braking late and go right around the outside? He's going to get squeezed out there.
Just like Nico Rosberg did in 2014 when he was battling with Lewis Hamilton there. Bottas chose to go round the outside, ran out of track and had to back off. Vettel leads from Bottas and then Hamilton, and then comes Felipe Massa, who's now got ahead of Daniel Ricciardo.
What happened there? Daniel Ricciardo then lost 2 places by the time he got to turn 4.
Might lose another one yet, because Kimi Raikkonen's right on his tail as well, and you wonder if those soft compound tyres are not warming up sufficiently to give Daniel Ricciardo the grip that he wants. Behind Kimi Raikkonen comes Nico Hülkenberg. We're on board with Kimi Raikkonen. Can he go round the outside and beat Daniel Ricciardo into turn 11? Not quite.
Yeah, but
he's looking at coming up the hill, he's going to do it now.
So much more grip, you're right, on those tyres, so much more grip. Ricciardo's just cannot fire them up and get going. But look, the Renault behind him has.
The fact of the matter is, Daniel Ricciardo can go to the end of this race, and the 2 Ferraris do have to stop again. Felipe Massa doesn't, because he's on the soft tyre. There goes the Force India of Sergio Perez down the inside of Nico Hülkenberg. He's got his former teammate into the final corner. Don't often see cars getting past there. Brilliant move from Sergio Perez, who puts himself up into 7th place.
Okay, mate, so let's keep it together. These tyres will come good.
Eventually, but he is losing position whilst they don't. Was at one stage 3rd, now 6th, Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, he's really struggling. I mean, Hülkenberg is to an extent. Lewis Hamilton is not so much. He's got a bit more downforce to fire them up with, a bit more power probably. but it's Ricciardo that's struggling most to get them to work.
Fernando Alonso and Jolyon Palmer exchanging positions and swapping places, and they're going to go wheel to wheel down the hill before Fernando Alonso just nudges ahead in that McLaren. He said we're fastest through the corners in China. He was quickest through the corners there ahead of the Renault, and he's up into 12th place. We can see what it looks like on board Palmer's Renault now. Yeah,
I spoke to a young driver who was following a McLaren in China last weekend and said, I think they got as much grip as the Red Bull. They just don't have any power. But an underpowered car always feels quite good, it must be said. But in terms of minimum apex speed, seems a McLaren is pretty handy chassis.
Out in front, Sebastian Vettel now leads by 1.6 seconds from Valtteri Bottas. Doing a good job is the race leader. This is Lewis Hamilton on Daniel Ricciardo, getting the jump once we started racing once again. And overtaking into turn 1, where his teammate was getting very close indeed to Sebastian Vettel. A lot closer than he is now. Let's look at Raikkonen through turn 11.
So what happens here is Ricciardo has to go in at a more acute angle. He's going to understeer wide, he's got less grip. Kimi Raikkonen, as wise as he is and experienced as he is, knows he can just cut back underneath the rear wing, as long as he checks nobody else trying to join that particular party, and take him on the way out instead.
Looking further back in the field, under pressure, Jolyon Palmer from Danny Kvyat in the one remaining Toro Rosso in this race. Pascal Wehrlein is running last. His teammate Marcus Ericsson, who was in the top 10, is now down to 11th.
I'm looking on every straight line a lot.
We're checking. The MG UK is there. Not sure why you're slow.
He's struggling a little bit behind Nico Hülkenberg is Romain Grosjean. Scrap for 8th place with Esteban Ocon right on the tail of that. Ocon up into the points again as he's got past Marcus Ericsson. Out in front, Sebastian Vettel continues to extend his advantage over Valtteri Bottas. Thing is, Martin, he has got now to really go for it, put the hammer down. Our Mercedes going to go to the end on the soft compound tyres for Lewis Hamilton. Bottas has got to stop again, Vettel has got to stop again, Hamilton doesn't.
Well, if Hamilton gets a penalty, though, it could be rather critical, couldn't it? And I'll be surprised if he doesn't.
Under pressure, Marcus Ericsson from Fernando Alonso. Last year's Ferrari engine powering the Sauber. This year's Honda engine vibrating away up the hill as Fernando Alonso moves up into 11th place, and once again proving that he's the king of the corners. That'll help him on the ovals of Indy 500.
And they were right-handers. He's got to be good on left-handers too, but as we know, he's great pretty much anywhere.
Fastest lap of the race for Sebastian Vettel, now 2 seconds ahead, out in front. I'd rather get the feeling Alonso will be enjoying this, even though he'd rather be a little bit closer to his former team at the sharp end of the race, but he's earning his money once more.
This is going to get all cranked up with a restaurant table booked.
Here goes Jolyon Palmer on the Sauber of Marcus Ericsson into turn 1. Palmer pulls off the move on his former GP2, now F2 adversary. Back we go to see Palmer's teammate Hülkenberg ahead of Grosjean, ahead of Ocon, and his scrap still.
That's trying to break the toe, the slipstream. It's not 2 moves in an overtake, because they weren't close enough to be overtaking him, if you're wondering why that's allowed. And sometimes we talk about 2 moves being a penalty situation.
Yeah, they say there's no overtaking in Formula 1 in 2017. I don't think that's quite right. When you get a mixture of tyre strategies, Paul di Resta, oh, hang on 2 seconds. A 5-second penalty for Lewis Hamilton just flashed up on our screen for driving unnecessarily slowly in the pit lane entry. So he either has 5 seconds when he comes in for a pit stop before they can change the tyres, or it adds 5 seconds to his overall time if he doesn't come in once again. But it is confirmation of that 5-second time penalty, which you, Martin, thought was coming his way. Yeah, mixture of tyre strategies, Paul di Resta is giving us some great excitement out there.
It is, Crofty, and I think Mercedes are going to definitely have to let Hamilton by Bottas, because he looks slightly quicker on the slower tyre. And then Hamilton, again, could make that pit stop and be on the super soft at the end to put the challenge on Vettel, who'll be on the soft tyre he's on now. The soft tyre warm-up is very slow as well, so right to the end of this race I think we're going to see a battle, and it may vary again.
Just Paul, on Valtteri Bottas's radio, he's been told it's important that you stay with Vettel. Lewis is on Strat 6, copy. Strat 6, is that like a higher mode, more power?
It could be saving it as well, so maybe they're giving him to say save a little bit and have a bit more power when the pit stop's coming up. So it's just about power usage, and you only have a certain allocation of the maximum power you can have.
So they're asking Bottas to let Hamilton go. And so he can get after the Ferrari, knowing he's got a 5-second penalty to add to his time. Can he get to the end on the soft tyres? That's their only chance now, Mercedes, I think, of stopping Ferrari. As if Hamilton can get to the end.
Yeah, quite.
With good pace.
The turn 1 incident where Carlos Sainz slammed into the side of Lance Stroll will be investigated after the race. You saw Danny Sullivan, the driver steward before the race, Martin, who said he was hoping for a quiet afternoon. I don't think he's got that.
Long evening with the sounds of it.
Too right. On board with Kimi Räikkönen, Felipe Massa is the car in front. Felipe Massa, who started 8th, currently running in 4th place, to the delight, I'm sure, of Sir Frank Williams on his birthday.
They are swapping drive position, Hamilton and Bottas.
Very happy birthday to Sir Frank, and also to Paul di Resta, who's 44 years younger.
So that's Vettel being told the Mercedes are going to swap. There's not a lot of swapping going on at the moment. They're 1.1 seconds apart, and it looks like he's picked up his pace, Bottas, and Hamilton now saying, I can't catch him.
Let's go down to Ted.
Hamilton had said on the team radio that if I can't get past Vettel...
If I can't catch him, if I get past and I can't catch him, I'll let him back.
There we go, he'll let Valtteri Bottas through, but the intention, the desire behind this is that Hamilton feels there is performance in his car, obviously, and his fears that Vettel is getting too far away down the road for him to do anything about it when the strategies do come together later in the race.
So this is a conundrum for Mercedes, isn't it? They're in a battle all season long with a Ferrari, and the Ferrari of Vettel, it seems, for the World Championship. What are they going to do? Bottas is so fast, he's so good today. Are they going to compromise him to think of the long game later on? Are they going to demote him effectively? And I think Lewis is saying that I'll let him back through later on. Is that what he was intimating, do you think?
You get the feeling even if he's not, he will be asked to if it doesn't quite come off.
Yeah.
I suppose the key is they went into this race, Martin, 1 point ahead in the Constructors' Championship. So whatever decision they make will be based on how many points can we score today? What is the maximum we're looking for? Ted, to you.
The point of it, ostensibly, is that Valtteri is on the faster tyre strategy at the moment. He should be actually closer to Sebastian Vettel. But I'm just wondering whether if Lewis is pushing these tyres so hard, then it's just a 2-stop for Lewis as well, Martin, but with an offset strategy of running the soft in the middle stint and then the super soft later on.
Don't know, that's why we watch live sport live, isn't it? So, oh, that looks pretty
Massa and Räikkönen. He's been getting closer, Räikkönen, for the last few laps. I think he rather fancied getting past on that occasion. Didn't happen, got compromised a little bit. Might not be close enough, but under braking tantalisingly. That Williams is just ahead of him.
How did Räikkönen get back behind Massa? It must have been in the safety car phase, yeah?
I would have thought so, yes. And obviously, Mercedes got held up a little. Ooh, drops up a little bit down the bottom of the hill there. Räikkönen found himself some clean air, didn't he, when he was out on the track, and he came in before the safety car to change his tyres.
So the safety car caught him out just a little bit.
It certainly helped Sebastian Vettel, who'd already pitted a few laps previously. Vettel on lap 10. Safety car came out on lap 13. And his pace on those first 3 laps got him ahead of Bottas and Hamilton, which he was the filling in the sandwich for the opening exchanges, and now starting to control this race. But he does need to stop again to change tyres. You've got to use 2 different compounds in the race.
How are the tyres now, Daniel? How are the tyres?
Haven't got worse, but haven't got better.
High 135s for Daniel Ricciardo at the moment, compared to a low 135 for Sebastian Vettel on the last lap. He's 3.5 seconds clear of Valtteri Bottas. Here comes Kimi Räikkönen on Felipe Massa. Räikkönen goes down the outside into turn 1. Räikkönen pulls off the move that he tried this time last lap and gets it done very nicely indeed. He's up into the top 4, is Kimi.
Still a great job there from Felipe Massa, and he fancies another look back. He thought he was going to be eating Easter eggs today, didn't he? And instead, there he is fighting the Ferrari over 4th place. Good for him.
Which is excellent news for us, and I've been trying to get that pun in all day.
Yeah, I'll tee him up, you knock him over.
There he goes, Kimi Räikkönen.
Very calm.
Chock full of excitement, this race. And now I stop.
So Palmer then's got back past Alonso.
Danny Kvyat got very wide there indeed, and Jolyon Palmer said thank you very much. I'll hold on to 12th place if that's all right for you. Alonso at the back of this scrap. There's not enough corners in this race for him.
No, so that's quite a lot of change on this lap, because the last time past the pits, Alonso, Palmer, Kvyat was the order. Now it's Palmer, Kvyat, Alonso.
Yeah.
That's a busy few corners. They're only in turn 10.
There's a bit of a do-si-do going on there, and it was a bit of a dicey dice for Kvyat when he got on the curb as well, and found an awful lot of sand and dust.
It's a nice wide turn in there. I haven't seen too many turn in from the curb into 11.
So we're looking for close battles at the moment. It's not necessarily the top three. Half a second between them at one stage. It was 3 seconds between the top 5. Felipe Massa is quickly getting detached from Kimi Räikkönen.
They can overtake me. 300 meters behind me at the beginning of the straight. I never raced with less power in my life. How is it possible?
And another less than 5-star review for the Honda engine.
I mean, it would frighten the life out of us if we drove it, the amount of power it's got, but as far as he's concerned, it wouldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding. That's from a long way back.
But I tell you what, he made it look very good indeed, didn't he, Danny Kvyat?
Front wing.
He has. He got quite close to him and still managed to nick the place back again. And now Kvyat could be under pressure from Fernando Alonso. Getting a good tone. He wants to go round the outside, does he? Into the hairpin at turn 4. Now he'll switch and maybe the cut back and down the hill on the inside of Danny Kvyat, try and get past. If he hasn't got the power, he's certainly going for the glory. Fernando Alonso here, but he just misses out on this occasion.
It wasn't really an overtake from Kvyat. It was more of a mugging, wasn't it, down there? It was so far back. I bet he looked like a speck in Palmer's mirrors when that all started off.
He had a go, and he kept the car under control, and he didn't lock up, so it was worth a try.
And Jolyon Palmer did well to see it coming. But it was brave. It was brave from Danny Kvyat, that's for sure. Or he missed his braking point, I'm not sure which.
There is now some debris on the track down at turn 1.
A bit of Palmer's front wing.
Maybe painted yellow.
Doesn't look like it's punctured the rear tyre, thankfully, of the Toro Rosso. We don't need to lose many more cars, do we? We're 15 in the race now.
Yeah. Felipe Massa's now got Daniel Ricciardo for company. Those tyres starting to come good a little bit for Ricciardo. He's within a second of the race leader. Lewis Hamilton has now got to within 9/10 of Valtteri Bottas, and this could be quite key. I wonder if we're going to get a position change for the two Mercedes in a moment. Let's have a look at this Kvyat move on Palmer once more. He's coming to get you.
Yeah, that's a lot of pieces of front wing down there, and is right on the racing line as well for Jolyon Palmer.
Could Palmer have done much more to try and get out of the way there?
I thought he did well on the way in. Just a little bit of misjudgment in the middle of the corner, but he wanted the place back.
Just wondered that they're now waving double yellow flags down at turn 1 because of all that debris.
That'll be marshals on the track, Crofty, I'd imagine,
yeah.
Because there's actually a big space between Vettel and Ericsson. They're all in the midfield, so there's plenty of time.
Not for Max Verstappen, there isn't. Big thumbs up and a green flag. They've done well, the marshals, to get rid of the debris, get a round of applause from the crowd. Max Verstappen out of this race because of brake failure. Stoffel van Dorn didn't start this race because of a power unit problem. Technical issue for Kevin Magnussen stopped him on the side of the track as well. Lance Stroll's issue was that Carlos Sainz was trying to make a big dent in his side pod in the Toro Rosso, and the stewards are going to look at that after the race. Lewis Hamilton's got a 5-second penalty coming his way because he held up Daniel Ricciardo on the entry to the pit lane, and I think Mercedes have now decided enough's enough. Hamilton needs to be freed to chase after Sebastian Vettel. On the soft tyre, he is going to have to stop again. He isn't going to have to stop again, I should say, so he needs to get that gap between himself and Vettel down, or stop it widening even further, because Vettel and Bottas do.
Yeah, Hamilton, lots of black smoke coming off his, black dust coming off his brakes, but I think Mercedes had to do it, because at the moment Ferrari are just walking away. They've got to do something different, and of course Räikkönen is only 7 seconds behind too, for good measure, and coming back quite nicely in the 1:35s, like his teammate who's leading. Mercedes in the 36s. Mercedes had to do something to fend off the second Ferrari, let alone the first one.
Ted, let's head down to you.
Well, it's not getting too much better for Valtteri Bottas. His rear tyres are now starting to overheat, but that was a clear team instruction. They couldn't have made it any clearer on the radio. Please let Lewis through. It was nice of them to say please, I suppose, but Valtteri, good team player, did it immediately. Didn't question it, and then they went on to explain to Valtteri that Lewis has this 5-second penalty that he'll either have to spend in a pit stop, or if he doesn't stop again, gets left to the end of his race time. I wonder if that will factor, well, it will factor into Mercedes' deliberations, won't it?
Yep.
If they can leave him out, if the tyres will make it to the end.
Lance Stroll saying, please let me finish a Formula One Grand Prix. Something he hasn't done for his first 3.
These rears are overheating for sure. The soft is going to be better.
So Merck have swapped the cars, so Bottas is now the car in front. He's not particularly quick.
Says Dave Greenwood, giving Kimi Raikkonen the encouragement to go after his compatriot.
And that was the right thing. Look at Hamilton, straight into the 134s. 134.9, took 4/10 out of Vettel's lead. They've got to put the Ferrari under pressure somehow, even with that 5-second penalty, which was silly, really. That was unnecessary. Everybody knows that rule. You're better to stack than go and get a 5-second penalty.
And here on board with Daniel Ricciardo is the evidence that I said a couple of laps ago that he was getting a bit closer to Felipe Massa. So it looks at the moment, Martin, on lap 28, that things are looking good for Lewis Hamilton. He's catching Sebastian Vettel. He doesn't have to stop again. Sebastian Vettel does, but of course, when Vettel does stop, he'll get fresher tyres, and he will be lapping quicker towards the end of the race. Then he's got to try and overtake, of course, and get past, which might not be the work of a moment. Hamilton might be able to go to the end, he might not be able to go to the end. That's still a bit of an unknown because the track temperature is cooling, the wind is getting up, and the teams haven't got all the data in this race that they're really looking for.
Hamilton's about 3/10 up on this lap so far, certainly pulling away from a struggling Valtteri Bottas now, as Raikkonen homes in on his fellow countryman at over a second a lap for 3rd place. Yeah, let's see. It's that penalty.
Now.
I got completely destroyed at my side pod. Drove right into me. I mean, I was like 60 meters, 50 meters in front of him in the braking zone. And he just dive bombed and I was turning already and he just completely drove into the side of me. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I just saw the video. It's ridiculous.
Did you see him at all in your mirrors? I know it's difficult from where you are on the track. He was behind you.
Yeah, I saw him coming out of the pit lane, but he was miles behind and he just completely dove down the inside and I was already in the middle of the corner and he completely just hit me.
The stewards are looking into it. They're going to investigate. Is it the sort of incident you think needs a penalty?
Yeah, for sure, clearly.
Stewards are looking into it. They're going to investigate. Is it the sort of incident you think needs a penalty?
Yeah, for sure, clearly.
Romain Grosjean pits from the points. Set of soft tyres goes on to...
I better give you a bit more space because you don't know about the geography of turn 1 in the Bahrain Grand Prix yet.
Romain Grosjean pits from the points. Set of soft tyres goes on to his Haas. Grosjean started on the super soft, now onto the soft for the rest of this race. Ted, down to you.
Grosjean is trying to undercut Hulkenberg. He's been stuck behind the Renault. This is the battle for 8th, 9th and 10th between Hulkenberg, Grosjean, Ocon. It's been in that order, but Hulkenberg's tyres have been hurting quite badly, overheating on that Renault. So this is the first roll of the dice by Haas to try and get past Hulkenberg's Renault.
Meanwhile, Sergio Perez has the advancing Valtteri Bottas behind him, and Bottas on a fresh set of tyres, setting some very impressive sectors indeed. What he could do with is being a little further back than Perez at this moment and gain on him on the straight.
Check what happened into turn 4. Low speed is time to run.
We see the issue, Kimmy. We see the issue. I'll come back with any action.
Come on, it's really disturbing.
Driver default A, driver default A5 on. Driver default A5 on should fix the issue.
Because, of course, that's easy to do, isn't it? There goes Valtteri Bottas down the inside at the final corner where Sergio Perez pulled off a very nice overtake around about 20 laps or so ago. Bottas has now got a bit of DRS advantage or usage to gain on Perez and extend that gap down to the first corner.
When I sat inside one, the last time I drove one of these last year, I counted 42 different controls, one way and another in the cockpit. And of course, some of those have got significant sub-menus to go with them, hence that instruction.
On board with the race leader, Martin, who lost 7/10 to Lewis Hamilton on that last lap.
Yeah, Hamilton's pace is strong, isn't it? He is negating Vettel getting away and buying a pit stop. Very much negating that.
The two championship leaders in championship order at the moment. Can Sebastian Vettel, who has to stop again to change to a set of soft compound tyre, or he could try the medium, but no one else has. Hamilton can go to the end.
Starting to struggle a bit with the tyres.
So are they just waiting for a gap, or is Vettel coming in now? Answer: Vettel's coming in now. The Ferrari pit crew race out of the garage and get ready. This needs to be a very speedy stop indeed, because we're down to fractions that could make a difference at the end of this race. Hamilton goes past into the lead.
It's the ideal time, because the only person who's going to get anywhere near is Kimi Raikkonen, who'll soon get out of the way, I assume, given they're now in different phases of the Grand Prix. So now, there goes Raikkonen. Can he get ahead of the Red Bull? He should be able to from there. Yes, I think he can. And then Raikkonen will skip out of the way, I'm sure. And it's now all about, as Bottas overtakes Massa, it's now all about how far and how fast Hamilton can get, plus 5 seconds.
Yeah. So the pit stop is done. And for Ferrari, very good news indeed that they got out ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Kimi Raikkonen has got to stop again as well, because he's run nothing but the super softs. So that might be the bit where he skips out of the way maybe at the end of this lap. Valtteri Bottas, of course, is gaining fast behind Sebastian Vettel as well, and will make life difficult for him as Kevin Magnussen watches on from the Haas garage in a rather more concerned Toto Wolff, with his head in his hands almost at Mercedes.
This is a tough call for Hamilton's gang. What are they going to do with him now? They'll be asking him, how are your tyres? Do you think you can get to the end? 23 laps. Because if you can't, there's no point in doing 18 and finding out you can't. If you can't, you need to pit now.
So it's give us the lap times, give us the information and the feedback as well. Hamilton then, at the end of lap 34, leads this race. Ted, down to you.
It seems by the radio traffic that they're not even considering trying for a one-stop on Lewis Hamilton's car. They're telling him to build the gap to Valtteri Bottas to give him the 5 seconds he needs that he'll have to sit there waiting in the pit lane. That will mean that when he comes out, he'll retain the place ahead of Bottas.
So what you're saying, Ted, is they've settled for second and third?
Well, it seems that way. I mean, I know that they don't tend to split strategies at Mercedes, do they? They don't tend to give one guy a one-stop and one guy a two-stop. Historically, they haven't done that. But I'm surprised they're not even considering keeping Lewis out.
Yeah, but if he can't make it, Ted, and he pits late, like I was just talking about, I mean, it's a long way to go. We've all agreed that anyway, but if he can't make it and he has to pit towards the end because he just runs out of tyres, he could end up losing 3 or 4 places, couldn't he, in second, not even be on the podium.
See, the gap between Hamilton and Vettel is 17 seconds, 16.8 at the end of that lap. There goes Romain Grosjean on Jolyon Palmer down the inside into turn 1. He got past Pascal Wehrlein on this lap, and now Jolyon Palmer after his pit stop, and he's up into 12th place. So the gap's 16.8 seconds. That's going to come down because Vettel is on fresher tyres. Can Hamilton hold on for 23 laps, or actually do they need to pit him again? Because actually that 16.8 seconds, forget that, it's an 11.8 second gap because of the 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
We need to look after these tires till the end. Hamilton will go long and then come back at the end.
Right, so Ferrari are expecting Mercedes to pit once again. Hamilton coming back at the end. I mean, that's going to be a very, very tough order on super soft tyres, even on the faster tyres, as Sebastian Vettel eases past his teammate Kimi Raikkonen.
34.0 for Vettel.
35.1 for Hamilton on that last lap.
Yeah, you would call that looking after them, but he's pretty comfortable with it. Lots of DRS and slipstream behind his teammate for good measure. But yeah, this is really tense, isn't it?
Look where Sebastian Vettel is gaining everywhere on Lewis Hamilton. He's got more grip. He's got a new set of soft tyres on. I mean, it looked at one stage that the clear answer was for Hamilton to stay out there and to try the one stop and then try and defend against Sebastian Vettel. But overtaking has been, it seems, a lot easier than was predicted for this race.
Yeah. 15.7 seconds advantage then Hamilton's got, with 24 seconds for an average pit stop, total time lost in pit stop and out, and get up to speed through tricky turn 1. So at the moment Vettel's got the high ground. When will they decide to pit the Mercedes, the number 44 car of Lewis Hamilton?
Meanwhile, the number 77 car of Valtteri Bottas is gaining, as you can see, on Daniel Ricciardo, and he's not counting out or counting his chickens yet in terms of finishing outside the podium positions. He's still looking very good for a podium as Valtteri Bottas. Ted?
There's a couple of things. Firstly, the Ricciardo-Raikkonen fight's going to be very interesting towards the end. Watch out for that between the Red Bull and the second Ferrari. But also, Martin, it's silly us speculating about a one-stop, because Mercedes will know precisely their tyre degradation figures, won't they? And they will know that they're quite hard on tyres, and they will know with fairly good certainty that a one-stop probably wouldn't work.
I don't think it is going to work looking at the times. Valtteri Bottas passed Daniel Ricciardo, and he is back up into the top 4 as Sergio Perez pits from 7th at Force India. His teammate Esteban Ocon goes ahead of him. Will he come out ahead of Danny Kvyat? He certainly should do.
So Hamilton is now effectively behind Bottas if he has to stop again. Here we have some very good tyres.
Is there nothing that I can do with the issue? And I'm struggling with the tires, so stop me sooner than just waiting what the others are doing, otherwise they will catch us.
Understood, Jimmy. Understood. I'm watching it.
He's turned into the Mr. Angry of the team, hasn't he, from taking that mantle over from Seb Vettel.
If it's an issue into turn 4, is that some sort of brake-by-wire issue? I wonder, 'cause it's one of the heavy braking zones down there, where Max Verstappen went off for a start, but you just wonder, under braking, you know, the harvesting that's going on, is that what's affecting Kimi?
I don't know enough about it, to be honest, in terms of exactly his problem going into that corner, whether it's on the way in or on the way out. But he pits now, and what he was saying was that don't leave me out and just react to the others. That's what you did last Sunday in China.
Didn't work then, wouldn't have worked today. Kimi pits, and as a result of that, then Bottas and Ricciardo and Massa as well will go past him, but well, actually Massa's not, because Massa, as you can see in the background, is coming into the pits. Fernando Alonso has just pitted, by the way, for a second time. He was told by his team on the radio, we're considering plan B. How are the tyres? To which he replied, yeah, do whatever you want, mate. Quite sure he cares for any plan at the moment.
They've done such the right thing to give Fernando Alonso something else to think about in the next 2 months while they get their motor sorted out.
There is Sergio Perez crossing the line in 7th place. Behind him, Danny Kvyat. Behind Danny Kvyat, Romain Grosjean. But I don't think for long, because Grosjean is really going for it into turn 1. And there he is. Appears into turn 1 ahead of the Toro Rosso and in 8th place now. So Esteban Ocon pits for Force India, as you can see as well. And he's back down into 12th. And he's got a couple of places to make up to keep his run going of a points finish. This is what it looked like on board the Haas of Romain Grosjean. He was 5th here this time last year, the best result that Haas have had in Formula 1.
It's a good engine, that Ferrari, isn't it? Good engine. No wonder Vettel's getting up the road nicely with it.
Talking of engines, I don't want to labour the point too much, but the best speed in the speed trap in this race, 205.7 miles an hour. Fernando Alonso's best speed trap so far, 195.7.
Painful, and you need a lot of power at that sort of speed.
Hang on a minute.
He was, what, 300 meters behind us on the straight?
Fernando, we're considering plan B. How are the tyres?
Do whatever you want, man.
Yeah. You know, to gain 10 miles an hour at those sort of speeds, drag squares with speed, as you know, it's a huge amount of power you need to find another 10 miles an hour at 200 miles an hour.
And a new spec, new upgraded engine coming in about a month, hopefully solving the vibration issues that they've had pretty much since the engine went off the dyno and into the car for the first test. Ted Kravitz.
Yeah, I'm looking over to the McLaren pit wall, and I don't know what their response is to Alonso saying, oh, do whatever you want, mate. I think they're pretty used to his special radio messages back, aren't they? He doesn't hold back. He knows everybody is listening, not only here, but also in Woking and back in Japan as well. I'm just wondering what they're like on fuel. The MGUH is holding up okay, but Alonso typically doesn't take much notice of the team when they're telling him to save fuel either.
So Vettel's now a net.
So it's important to close the gap to Vettel. Lewis has a 5-second penalty, but is still yet to stop.
Right, so
he is stopping.
He is stopping. Sebastian Vettel. Who's your money on, Martin? From that 40. Who's your money on for a race winner here?
Vettel. Vettel's got it won, has he not? It's now about which Mercedes finishes second. Surely Hamilton's got to stop again. He's a net 6 seconds ahead of Vettel, and it's 24 seconds to stop. So it's a question of how fast as Ricciardo stops again. It's a question of how fast Hamilton can be when he comes out of the pits, as to whether he can repass Bottas, is how it looks to me, and 5 seconds. So it looks Raikkonen now putting in the fastest lap of the race as well.
Given everything that's happened so far, my money's on Pascal Wehrlein, quite frankly. Anything could happen here. And talking of which, Wehrlein's in the points at the moment, running in the points for Sauber, down in 10th place as Daniel Ricciardo comes out onto the track ahead of Felipe Massa. So he's in 5th place in the one remaining Red Bull left in this race. Talking of Pascal Wehrlein, here he is. And behind him, yeah, there is a Renault there. going to be in the points for long here, I don't think. Yeah, sadly, last year's Ferrari engine doesn't give him the power down the straight. Nico Hülkenberg nicks that point off him, and I think Esteban Ocon is now going to get very interested after his pit stop as well, as they race up the hill towards the hairpin at turn 4. Ocon's got a nice toe, he's in the slipstream, wants to dive down the inside, and then thinks again as Wehrlein cuts that off. Now at the top of the hill, and they turn right. They're going to go wheel to wheel. Ocon's going to get the job done very nicely indeed. No contact made, but Ocon bided his time and picked just the right moment to squeeze past.
Solid little driver, Esteban Ocon, isn't he? You don't really see stellar lap times yet, but he's always there or thereabouts, and very consistent in the races too.
We didn't see all his race in China, but he was a bit disappointed. He thought 7th place was up for grabs, and they had a problem with the jack at one of his pit stops that delayed it by 12 seconds. So without that, he might have been up in the points even higher. He might be up in the points here this afternoon. Otmar Safnauer on the Force India pit wall. It's not looking too bad for your target objective of points finishes today, is it, Otmar?
Well, we need to get Esteban up there too, and then hopefully we'll have both of them in the points.
Has it been a straightforward race for you? Have you had to think on your feet a little bit in this?
A little bit of thinking on our feet because of what the others have done, and we had the safety car situation as well. But it is what we planned. We just had to juggle stop laps.
They've both got 20-odd laps to, just over 20 laps to do to the end of the race. Is that a struggle this evening now?
I don't think so.
Otmar, thank you. They're waiting down at Mercedes for Lewis Hamilton to come in and pit. He's just making his way round the final corner, as you can see now. And the race leader, who will have a 5-second stop before they work on his tyres and get them changed, now comes in. So the gap was 10 seconds between himself and Sebastian Vettel. Well, 5 seconds of that is wiped off as they stop now. And this must feel like 5 years if you're in the cockpit. Shaking his head, Lewis Hamilton there before they get going.